Some breaking news now. In the last half an hour, it's been confirmed that more than 9,000 Wilko employees will be made redundant next month. This is after a rescue deal for the discount chain fell through, meaning all 408 stores will close in early October. Joining me now is market commentator Victoria Scholar. Victoria, this is a horribly bleak story, isn't it? What a terrible shame, because at first it looked as if there was some kind of rescue plan that was about to come to fruition.
Yes, that's right. We were all eyeing the billionaire owner of HMV, Doug Putman, who was in talks with Wilko, a well-known and well-loved high street brand. But unfortunately, those discussions have now broken down. So that leaves a very uncertain future for the high street retailer. We know that it already fell into administration back in August, and the administrator, PwC, had highlighted that there would be over 1,000 redundancies. But now the update is that it looks like it's going to be much more than that. And the deal fell through essentially because of high costs associated with running the business, as well as her problems with Wilko's supply chain. So it's a sad day, and unfortunately it is going to lead to thousands of job losses.
For people who aren't familiar with Wilko, it's a kind of a sort of I don't mean to be sort of detract from its individuality, but a kind of sort of sub Woolworths kind of chain. Would you say that's fair to say?
Yeah, I'd say that's right. And you kind of made the point that one of Wilko's problems is that it struggled to differentiate itself. There are a lot of other low-cost retailers out there. B&M Retail is very successful. Poundland is another one. And there are lots of other names. Woolworths, of course, although that has had a lot of problems of its own and eventually led to its own demise. But there are quite a few similar shops out there on the high street. And when you couple that with the inflationary backdrop that has hurt a lot of businesses and that we've all felt as well, and then you think about the impact of the pandemic, when a lot of stores were forced to close, and then the more broad general demise of the high street because of the rise of online shopping and e-commerce, that cocktail of pressures has really led to Wilko's downfall.
And we believe that the very first store closure is going to be this week, just in a matter of days away.
Yes, that's right. It looks as though we are going to see store closures very soon. We're going to see lots of stores closed as soon as next month, and thousands of jobs go as well. And this comes at a very uncertain time for a lot of people already, with interest rates going up, with the cost of living crisis, and everything becoming ever more expensive. So unfortunately, this is a sad story, but hopefully they will be able to find jobs elsewhere. There are a lot of other retail players out there. So hopefully those that shortage of labour that we have here in the UK will allow a lot of those people to be swept up into other roles.
I mean, it's a very sad story, and it comes on the same day that Dame Sharon White, the chairman of the John Lewis Partnership, says we need what she describes as a royal commission to look into what's gone wrong in the high street and how to save it. Now, royal commission is a kind of ritzy way of saying an independent private inquiry kind of thing, isn't it, really? But do we already know what's gone wrong in the high street? I bet if I asked you, Victoria, to give an overview of why there isn't the footfall and why there isn't the custom that these large stores need to keep afloat, you'd be able to tell me.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's all about e-commerce. It's all about the rise of online shopping. It's the Amazons, it's other players like that, where you can get things much more cheaply, where they don't have to pay for rent, and therefore they can offer items to customers at a much lower price. But you're right, it's really interesting timing that Dame Sharon White's comments to try to launch a new royal commission to help restore the high streets here in the UK comes on the exact day that we get this sad news from Wilko. But you know, it's very common now to see pictures of empty shops or short tenants or charity shops because a lot of these retailers just can't afford the rent anymore. And that sort of community feel of having a high street nearby where we could go meet up with our friends, get a coffee, browse the shops. that seems to be almost a thing of the past, just because of everything in terms of shopping online. So there needs to be some real inventive thought about how to revive our high streets and make them an exciting place to hang out again.
I know, but haven't we been saying that for at least 20 years? I mean, it's just a repetitive thing that goes on repeat, round and round and round, doesn't it? I mean, we had Mary Portas making those shows on television about revivifying the high street. We've had all sorts of people saying, well, it's not so much about shopping anymore, it's about the experience. You've got to have an experience. But what people don't really want to do is get dressed, get off the sofa, get on public transport, park the car, pay congestion charges, pay you less charges, schlap in and then be told, actually, we haven't got it here at all. Look online if you want to buy it, which is what frequently happens when people do actually make the trek into the high street.
Yeah, I think you're right. Maybe we just need to accept that this is a new reality, that most of our shopping is now going to be done online. But I do think there is still a place for shops, especially clothes. You never really get a feel of what something's like unless you actually try it on. And I certainly miss the experience of going shopping with friends or with my mum or anyone else. But yeah, maybe that's something of the past. Maybe I'm being a bit nostalgic, and maybe we need to move forward and just appreciate the fact that online means that we can get things a bit more cheaper.
Let's look into BMW. BMW, this is a good news story following this very bleak Wilko story. BMW will spend £600 million to upgrade its factory in Oxford to electric production of the Mini. This is after a U-turn. It's quite a big deal, this story, particularly as the whole idea of electric vehicles is mired in controversy, with many people saying they're far too expensive, they're not practical, the facilities you need to keep them on the road aren't available, and the whole thing's a big fat pain, and lots of people saying, I bought an electric vehicle, I'm giving it back, I don't like it. There's lots of that raging, isn't there?
Absolutely. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt that there's a major problem in terms of the price point of electric vehicles, in terms of the charging infrastructure, in terms of that fear when you go on the motorway and your battery is running out. But at the same time, it's clear that all governments are pushing us to shift in that direction for very good reason, for the climate. And so the fact that petrol and diesel cars are going to be banned from sale beyond 2030 means that electric cars are very much the future, and economies of scale will hopefully mean that as production ramps up, as more and more automakers bring further different cars to the market, that will ultimately lead to much greater supply and will help to see those prices come down. But this is a good news story. We are seeing hundreds of millions of pounds invested in Mini here in the UK. And we've heard other car makers also invest here in the UK, like Jaguar, Land Rover, and others, although some other car makers have been actually leaving the UK, like Honda. And more broadly, what we've seen is a major structural decline in terms of car manufacturing here in the UK. We're very much a services-led economy, and our manufacturing sector is getting weaker. So at least this is some green shoots of optimism to suggest that some of our car market is remaining alive.
Has the government had to sugar the medicine to persuade BMW to stay here and do this? Or has it been the free and open choice of BMW to do this?
Well, I think that there is government support for this deal, and the government is investing in terms of grants to try and help BMW to remain here in the UK. But there's a global competition going on at the moment. Lots of economies are vying for a slice of this growing electric vehicle pie. We're seeing the green economy explode, and all economies, including the UK, want to make sure that they get in on a piece of that action, and the governments are helping different economies to do so. So this is a win for the UK government, and it does act as a vote of confidence in our manufacturing sector, and hopefully it will pave the way for other car giants to follow suit.
Thank you very much indeed, Victoria. Good to have you on the programme.